Abby, and this feels really weird to stand up in front of you. So I know it's a little ironic that I'm supposed to be talking about anxiety in mountain biking because I have a little anxiety right now. But anyways, ironically, Lynn kind of titled this like overcoming anxiety, and I thought that was kind of ironic because I don't think it's actually something we can overcome. The title that I wrote down on my notes was "We're All Scared," because I think that's maybe a little more accurate. Like, my backstory is like I come from like XC racing, so compared to being in a bike park here, we don't really go down big hills generally in XC racing. It's pedaling, it's mostly flat, it's up and down, but it's a lot more controlled than like bike park or gravity riding and racing. And I come from the Midwest where there aren't mountains at all, so it's just, you know, like it's very, very different. And so about 2 years ago now, I got introduced to enduro racing and kind of decided that like, okay, I'm gonna go all in on this, even though I had very little experience on features like jumps and drops and that steep riding even. And so last January, so like a year and a half ago now, I was down riding at Ride Rock Creek in North Carolina with the local gravity team, and they were training for downhill, and I was kind of just riding with them to get some experience for enduro. And we were sessioning a trail that had a bunch of features kind of back to back to back. So it was like, you know, a big rock feature, and then there was a drop, and then there was another drop, and essentially got to a point like halfway through the trail. I'd already crashed once, and I came up on this drop, which I don't know, maybe 3 foot, I don't even know now, but like it was a drop in theory that I had the skills to ride, but in that moment it's like something flipped in my brain and I like grabbed both brakes and had a panic attack. But because I was training for an enduro and like preparing, I was running the GoPro the whole time, and so all of this is caught on video. And on the way home, because I had been riding with these like junior gravity kids, and like the coaches and everybody there was like super kind and like accepting and helped me work my way down the rest of the trail and I was riding the rest of the day, it was fine. But like we had some conversations about how like that was really scary for me in that moment. Like I was terrified of that drop. Yes, it was something I should have been able to do, but I was terrified. And then like, it's okay to be scared. We just keep moving on. So I, in my mind, was like, I think because I have a resume as an XC racer, people look at me and, this is my perspective anyway, people look at me and expect me to be able to like ride these features and not be scared. And so I was like, I'm just gonna share that little clip of what happened and be like, everyone is scared. It's okay, it's part of it, we figure it out. So I did that, and it was an 11-second video. And 2 days later, it had like 1.3 million views. Whoa. And several thousand comments telling me that I should quit riding bikes, that pros aren't scared, and lots of other demeaning things, mostly about women riding bikes. And it really got to me. Like I have a great community, some of whom are standing right here, or sitting right here, but like of men and women who are very, very supportive and like jumped in to support me, but it doesn't like every time you open your phone and you see that like you're not worth that bike you're on, like it gets to you. And so it became a longer process of me like working to figure out, how do I move past this? Like not necessarily how do I not be scared, but how do I progress and keep showing up even though I'm scared? And I think that kind of is part of it. So the real truth, like we do get scared. Pro or not, like big features have consequences. And what's a big feature to me or a big feature to you or to someone else is probably all different, but it's big to us in that moment and there's consequences to that. I'm still scared of big jumps and drops. Like it still scares me. Like I rode off Gopher this morning. I've ridden that drop probably 15 times now, maybe more. It scares me every single time. And I'm not afraid to like admit that. Like I know I have the skills to ride it, but the consequences that are always present, like give me pause. And I think we're scared of other things too. Like we can be scared of showing up to a race and failing, whatever we define that as. Like maybe it's not meeting a goal time, maybe it's not a result, whatever. We could be scared of trying something and failing, embarrassing ourselves, trying a new thing for the first time, of not fitting in or whatever else. We can be scared of getting hurt, especially when coming back from an injury. I had massive shoulder surgery last fall, and this entire spring was me learning how to ride a bike again. And at the same time being terrified that if I fell, I was going to ruin the 6 months of recovery I just went through, and go back. There's lots of reasons to be scared, and I think that that's all okay. But thanks to the help of I've been working with Harlan Bryce as a skills coach, and then I have a sports psychologist, Erin Ayala, who's based out of Minnesota. But working with them and being able to find some tools to manage the fear, not get rid of it. It's still there. I still don't want to crash. I don't want to fall. I don't want to fail or whatever that might look like. But how do we work through the fear? So that's kind of what I have today, is a couple strategies to what do we do about it when we're scared? The first one is become friends with our thoughts. And this is one that does come from my sports psychologist. And she talks about naming the thoughts, and talking to them. She's like, hey, thoughts, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're in my head today, but I'm not gonna really listen to you. Just acknowledging that the fear is there. Hey, fear, I figured you'd show up. We're gonna do this big feature today. I'm glad you came. Be prepared to watch, and being a little sassy with it. Someone noticed on my bike earlier, I have some I put mantras on my top tube to remind me before key races. One of them that's on my top tube now is let it shine. And that's kind of the same thing of this idea of yeah, I put in the work, watch me. And kind of that same sass of being okay to own it, that yeah, I'm still scared, I'm still gonna show up and I'm gonna try it, whatever that might be. So just accepting that the fear is probably gonna exist, it's probably still gonna be there, but just because it's there doesn't mean it has to be the only or the controlling voice. There's other voices there as well. Secondly is just focus on the process. And this is why those mantras are on my top two. When I get scared personally, it's often because I'm too focused on the outcome. I need to win this race, or I need to get over this drop, or I need to whatever. But it's helped a lot to back up and focus on the individual skills of the process to get there. So one of the cues, and again, this comes a lot from working with Harlan as a skills coach, but one of the cues that we've used is palm pressure. So when I come into a steep section or a tight corner, instead of thinking, oh, I have to make it around this corner, it's so tight, what happens if I fall off the outside? I'm thinking about, where's the weight on my palms? And is it on the right hand or the left hand or whatever it needs to be? Strong position is another one I use to just remind me that no, I don't have to scooch down here and be all scared. I actually I'm in a better position if I'm taller and in a stronger position. And so focusing on those individual skills or the individual processes I need to do well in order to achieve that outcome helps take my mind off this is something I can control. I can control where my weight is. I can control where I'm looking. I can control whatever, even if I can't control the outcome. I can control all the pieces to get there. And so, like I said, I just put these on my top two because I can see it reminds me, and I'm okay, I know. And it's usually a short thing. So palm pressure, strong legs, smooth and steady, nail the nutrition for more an XC race. I can't control how fast I am or how slow I am, but I can control that I'm eating every 20 minutes. I can control that I'm drinking as much as I need to drink or whatever it might be. And so those help me to kind of step away from the outcome and the fear that's often associated with that. And then my favorite mantra, I feel I have to share this one, it's been on my top two for probably a year now, is stay curious. And it's just that idea of having just an open mind of I don't know that the outcome's gonna be bad. It could be, but I don't know that. And if I stay curious, it kind of opens me up to the fact that oh, maybe I could actually do really well in this race, or maybe I'll actually have fun riding with this new group of people, or maybe I will clear the jump, it doesn't always have to be bad. So that stay curious has kind of been one that I just come back to. And I think side note, as far as the process, it's especially important when you're coming back off of an injury. Like you cannot rush healing. And that was one of the things coming back off of my shoulder injury. I wasn't allowed on a bike for 4 months. And so like when I was like, the first time I got back on my mountain bike, I think it was like maybe 30 minutes, and I was like, my shoulder hurts. And this is coming from someone who races like 6 and 7 hours at a time. And I was like, will I even be able to like go do that again? Like, and you know, being anxious about like, again, the outcome. But again, it was like, okay, but I can't control the outcome. I can control right here and now. I can show up at PT, I can do the work at home, I can make sure I don't do what I'm not supposed to do to like re-injure myself. And just, again, trust the process and focus on like what I can control, even though it's like small, it doesn't feel like a lot. The third thing is learn the skills. And so this is, I like to say that confidence is like a piggy bank. Because when I started racing enduro, because I had raced Pro Elite XC, I kind of put myself in a position, and I know this was completely on me, where I was like, well, I race this level XC, I should be able to race this level enduro, even though there's a whole different set of skills that are required. And so I didn't really take the time to learn all the skills. I just kind of jumped in with both feet and was like, all right, I'm here, now I have to get down this course somehow. And it's kind of no wonder that I was scared. If I think about like, duh. And so what I've done since coming back from surgery is kind of taken a step back. I've taken a bunch of skills lessons. When I come up to a feature that I'm scared of, I don't even try to force myself to ride it. I'm like, well, if I feel like riding it, then sure. But if not, like, it's okay. I don't have to ride that today. And kind of take the pressure away. But I think that every time we work on a skill, so if we go out for a ride or practice skills in a parking lot, we join a group, whatever, we're putting coins in that confidence bank. So for me, because like drops and gaps are such a like a mental thing for me, they're still scary. So every time I go over a drop, even if it's really tiny, that's a coin in the confidence bank. If I go over a bigger drop, it's still a coin in the confidence bank. And I do it over and over and over again. When I come out to ride something like this one over here, now I'm making a withdrawal on that piggy bank. I'm like, okay, I know I can do this, but because I have so many coins in the piggy bank, I've done little ones and built up so many times that like, yes, I know I can do it. Even though I might still be nervous, I can kind of draw on those deposits to have the confidence I need, because I've earned that confidence to do the skill. And so I think like if your fear is around a feature, then back up, go slow, learn the skills you need to build up doing that feature with confidence. This is also kind of funny, because again, even as an XC racer, you would kind of expect me to be okay with going over like little logs in the trail. I may have raced a World Cup and still been terrified of like going over a log in the trail, especially if it's like maybe a little off camber or maybe wet or just doesn't look right. Like there's really no reasoning behind it. It's just sometimes my brain is like, no, we're not doing that. But like literally what I did, because I knew that this was an issue that I had, is first of all, I laid out like, I think it was like just like it was a dog toy is what it was. I just laid it in the sidewalk and I was like, all right, I'm gonna go over this, like hop over this little dog toy. Zero consequence. If I roll over it, it squeaks, that's about it. Then I was like, okay, well now I'm gonna find a stick. And I added a stick. And just like practicing like little low consequence stuff that like eventually, if it's still a big log, I'm still gonna get off my bike and walk around, but like more like little normal things. I'm like, okay, I can go over this because I've done the low confidence stuff in the parking lot. And so, even if your fear, I think, is some kind of imposter syndrome, which is also very normal, even at my level, like I've raced for like 8 years now, and I show up and I'm still like, I don't deserve to be here. Like, it's normal. Imposter syndrome, we all have it. We're all scared. We all have imposter syndrome, I think. But I think we can do the same thing with that. Maybe set a smaller goal. So like, I'm gonna show up to one group ride, or I'm gonna ask a friend to come race with me for the first time. So at least we're in this together. We're both be uncomfortable, it's fine. You can't win if you don't show up. And you might surprise yourself. And it's not all about winning anyway. Sometimes it's just the challenge of like, I showed up, I did this thing, and I learned something from it. And so that's one of the questions that I kind of challenge myself with, like, whether it's an event or something maybe I'm nervous to do, a big challenge is like, well, how did I get better today? And maybe that's a personal thing, maybe it's a performance thing, but either way, like, I think there's always something we can learn or improve through experiences like that. Maybe your fear is getting stranded in the woods. You know, there's skills for that too, like go learn how to change a flat tire, or wilderness first aid, or you know, whatever it is like surrounding that. Like, there's ways to build those skills too, if it's like a skill-centered fear, I think. And then lastly, stay curious. And like I said, this is one of my mantras that I've like hung on to. It'll probably be on my top 2 forever. I should just get a sticker at this point instead of a Sharpie over and over. But like, fear is so closed-minded. It's so narrow. We envision the worst, whatever that might be. You're not gonna like me, or I'm gonna fall off my bike, or whatever it is. But staying curious is the opposite. It's open-minded. It's a wide frame of thought. It's realizing that we don't know what's gonna happen, but we're opening ourselves up to the possibilities of what could happen. And so like, you know, I think of this like, say you're in a race, or you're doing a big adventure ride even, and you get a flat tire. You know, it's easy to get discouraged and be like, ugh, my ride is over. But if we stay curious, we can be like, okay, well, I'm gonna fix the flat. You know, easy, like practical right in front of me, I'm gonna fix my flat, or do whatever I can. And then I'm gonna like, keep riding hard, because you never know what can happen. To this point, I as in like this spring sometime, did a stage race in Pennsylvania. On day 1, I was sitting in second place. I was really excited. I was like, my legs feel good. Like, I'm like as close as I've ever been to this woman in front of me, who's a super strong rider. Feeling great, and I flatted. And I'm like, okay, dang, I flatted. So then I like pull off my pump and my plugs, and I'm doing like my thing, and it won't plug. And like, my pump's not working. Sealant's everywhere at this point. And I was like, fine, I'll just ride on the push cord. I got this. I'm just gonna ride on the push cord. So then I like ride out, or start riding. I ride like a mile, and someone offers me a tube, and I was like, oh, thanks. It like helps me with the tube in. I pull the push cord out, and it's like wrapped around my body. I'm riding. I get like another mile, and the tube like explodes. Like, cool. And then I learned you cannot ride your bike with a flat tire if there's no push cord in the rear wheel. So I was like, all right, well, I guess I put the push cord back on the wheel, rode like another mile. Someone else finally offered me another tube. All of this, I didn't have a tube to start with, so that's kind of on me. Not bad. So someone else like loans me another tube, and I finally like, again, like I'm embarrassing myself to keep riding and make it to the end. And it was kind of this thing like after the fact, I realized I was like, oh, that's what I've been practicing all this time with like the enduro mindset of like, okay, you fall, it's fine, your race isn't over, you get back up and you keep racing. I normally am not too anxious about XC races. I don't really think about it that much because I've been doing it for a while, but I've also never flatted in a race before. And so it was a really cool thing to kind of look back after the race and be like, oh, I just focused on what I could do and then just stay curious on the outcome, because it would have been really easy to be like, it's stage 1, I flatted, I've spent 45 minutes with my bike on the side of the trail, there's no way I'm coming back. I literally watched the people who are doing this for fun and not racing pass me while I'm standing there. So like, I'm not coming back to second. Like, that was so far out of the picture. But because it was a 5-day race, I still managed to finish on the podium. Like, I got 3rd that week because like, a big part of it was I didn't give up. Like, I put my bike back together the best I could, and with the help of other people who were gracious enough to help me. But like, I just put my head down and pedaled. And sometimes it's like that concept of like, just stay curious. You don't know what could happen by the end of the week. With the like feature thing, I think this is the same thing too. Like I mentioned earlier, that I kind of stopped putting pressure on myself, because I used to be like, I have to be able to ride this. Like, the expectation is on me that I have to ride it, and like, that was not productive for me. Like, being able to step back and say like, all right, I'm not ready to do this today, but even if I have the skills to it, but maybe tomorrow, maybe next time I'm at this park, maybe whatever, and like just staying open to it. And I think that there's so much less pressure, but I've also found that a lot of times, like maybe later in the day or maybe the next day, I do go back and hit it because like, yeah, I have the skills to do it. I just wasn't like quite emotionally ready or mentally ready yet to do that. And I think with that, like whether it's skills or whether it's performance or whether it's dealing with a flat or whatever, the only thing anyone can ask of you is your best effort. And I think we forget that because like I put pressure on myself, like, oh, I need to get this result. No, I don't. Like, all I can do is my best. Whatever my best is that day, with whatever chaos comes with that day, or flat tires or whatever. Like, all you can do is your best. And I think with that, kind of going back to the beginning, a few months after I posted that 17-second video that resulted in like months of critical comments on the internet, I had an opportunity to stay and ride with a pro World Cup level enduro and downhill racer at a regional race. And we, kind of the group of us that were all staying in the same house together, like, we went to the course, we pre-rode, it was muddy, I was terrified, I was like, this course is so steep, it's so scary, it's so slippery. But then we all went back to the house afterwards, like after pre-riding, and we're sitting there watching GoPro videos. And this pro enduro racer who's been racing internationally for over a decade was like, that was really scary. And he's like, oh, you can hear where I like yelled in that video and I was scared, like that feature was scary. And I was like, what? He's scared too? Because like this is someone that like, I watch videos of this guy racing on the internet. He's real fast. And like, yeah, he was hitting those features at like much higher speeds than I probably ever will. But the fact that like he was scared too was I think really reassuring. And I think that's a big part of it. Like the fear doesn't go away, no matter what the internet says. I mean, they all try to tell me that real riders aren't scared, ever. But the fear doesn't go away, and like, I think it just changes focus. You know, maybe today it's this drop, or showing up at this group ride, or trying this big event, or whatever it is. But we build confidence by taking it slow, trusting the process, building the skills, taking the steps to get where we want to be, and then just staying curious. At least that's been my experience. And like, I'm not there. I'm still really scared of stuff. But like, if I look back to a year ago, I'm definitely riding stuff I never even would have dreamt of looking at last year. You know, I did a 255-mile bike packing trip that I never would have dreamed I could finish. You know, like, there's just things that like, I think if we stay open to it, we're like, what could happen if? There's a lot of potential there. So that's what I've got. Thank you. If you have questions, let me know.